Started. This is Sandy. I'm the Rec Center Dietitian. Um, my offices are on the mezzanine over at the Rec Center at Collins Aerospace. And I know we have some probably members joining tonight as well as Collins Aerospace employees. So thank you for joining. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm also a health coach and yoga teacher at the Collins Aerospace Rec Center. So tonight we're going to talk about the Mediterranean diet. It's extremely popular right now and with good reason because it's a very healthful diet. So I'll go ahead and get moving on here. So just some of the things we're going to cover tonight. I'm going to do a little bit of history on the Mediterranean diet just because I enjoy that and makes it a little bit more interesting. I'll talk about the health benefits, and we are celebrating Women's Health Month here at the Rec Center. So I'll also focus on just a few of the benefits to women of the Mediterranean diet. I'll go over some of the information on how the Mediterranean diet has been voted the best diet overall and its different rankings for the last 4 years, and that's by US News and World Report. And then we'll cover, if you're not currently doing a Mediterranean diet, how do you start to transition to that Mediterranean diet and incorporate more of those foods in your diet? And I'll also show you some websites where you can get some meal plans or recipes. So first, I just want to start off with the Mediterranean diet pyramid. So we often do a pyramid when we're showing the different types of food plans, and the Mediterranean diet has one as well. And if you look at the bottom there, their first focus isn't the food, but it's the activity and spending time with your family. So it's a lifestyle, really. So adopting the Mediterranean diet can really just, it supports this lifestyle of, being family oriented and being active and socially active in your lifestyle. And then the next big portion of that pyramid as you move up is going to be your plant-based food. So your fruits, your vegetables, your beans, your legumes, your grains, all those healthy plant-based items. And then I just like people to take note that next layer there is going to be the fish or the seafood. And that's a bigger layer than the milk and the dairy and the poultry, that layer. So seafood is one of the main things that you will find as a source of protein and healthy fats in the Mediterranean diet. And then again, as we move up, we're into that poultry and the dairy and cheese and eggs, those foods that are foods that you have, regularly throughout the week as well. And then at the very top would be meats and sweets, and those would be foods that we have less often in the Mediterranean diet. And we'll talk a little bit about that too, like desserts, are typically going to be more fruit, cheese, nut kind of based type foods. Over to the side here, drinking water every day, we know that's important. And then wine in moderation is also in the Mediterranean diet or lifestyle. So just a little picture here of the area where the Mediterranean diet kind of grew up out of. And just if you look at this map, you'll see it was a very widespread area. And when you think about, hundreds of years ago, as this diet was a traditional diet and became, more popular, how it spread through such a large area. And, those people were eating the same types of foods. So I'll talk about some of the influences on that as well. But as you can see, it starts way down in, Egypt, down in Africa, and it expands up through Rome, through Greece and Crete, Italy, and there's even that religious influence from that area as well, and the Christian influence. And Germanic tribes, which traveled down into this area, also influenced the diet, as well as the islands, all the islands. So again, you can see why there would be lots of seafood in this diet. And just another thing I found interesting when I was researching the Mediterranean diet is that what we call the Mediterranean triad. So the grapes, that's where our wine comes from, the olives, anointing with olive oil, and grain, which is, we make into our bread. So there is a very Christian tradition in the Mediterranean diet, and that Christianity had spread throughout that area. Oops, sorry, I don't know how I did that. So other influences, those Germanic tribes. We know the German people are hugely known for eating a lot of meat. So some of the influence of meat farming, gathering, that came from those Germanic tribes. And then the Arabs or Muslims, some of the foods that are popular there, you may have heard of, couscous, and then other foods here, eggplant, spinach, the citrus and the spices. Rosewater, there's a lot of recipes out there with rosewater in them as well. Not real popular around here, but becoming more popular. Almonds and pomegranates as well came from that influence. And then, in the 1500s, 1600s, the discovery of the Americas, and then that sharing of the crops from the America back into Europe. So we brought back to Europe the potatoes, the tomatoes, the corn, peppers. So some of those nightshades, chilies, beans, and other foods that have become traditional Mediterranean type foods as well. And then grains, just kind of that role of grains, kind of the same way we use grains today or have used them. They're readily available, they're inexpensive, and they really stretch our meals to use some of those grains in our diet. And then they're also very filling. And I do like to say one of the things about the Mediterranean diet is they are typically using whole grains. So they do some bread and flour, ground flour type foods, but less than what we would commonly do here in America. So they're doing more of the whole grains, what I would call, like a whole oat or groat, bulgur wheat, which is in that whole form. And when we know when you eat the grains in the whole form or cracked, that they take longer to digest. So you don't get such a sugar spike or that spike from eating a lot of carb that you get when you eat more of our ground flour foods and our sugary foods here that we eat more of in the United States. So again, some of those grains are listed there. And then, I talked a little bit about just the lifestyle, but really it was, their way of life, their culture, the way that they raised their families, everything, surrounded this tradition of their food and their diet. So, from harvesting the food, fishing, conservation, like just making sure that no food was wasted, and the way that they prepared the food, hunted and gathered the food, it was passed down from generation to generation. So just really steeped in tradition. Processing, whether you're skinning a fish or whether you're milling grain, all that was done, as well as preparation, cooking, and then consuming. So it's really done as an effort together and sitting down in family meals. So that is why that tradition is so important, of being active and eating together and enjoying your time with your family. So moving on to some of the health benefits, it was in the 1950s, Dr. Ansel Keys, he's a physiologist. He found that people that were living in the poor areas in southern Italy had a much lower risk of heart disease than what they found in, with wealthier parts of New York when he was studying it. And he attributed this, very astutely to their diet and what they were eating. So the Mediterranean diet is actually the best well-studied diet out there. If you I like to go out to PubMed to do research. But if you get out there and you do any research on Mediterranean diet and, women's health, or Mediterranean diet and heart disease risk, all these different, studies will pop up. And I'll show you also a website that puts together some of those studies as well. But I'm just going to go through a few highlights here. We know that the Mediterranean diet can help reduce the risk of heart disease. So that's risk of combined heart attack, stroke, or heart disease death. And they found in the studies, the Predimed studies, which I'm quoting here for several of these, were that about 30% reduced heart disease risk in using the Mediterranean diet versus the control group. So, that's pretty statistically significant. And I just wanted to point out too, it may reduce women's risk for stroke. And the study showed that it would reduce it up to about 20% for women who were considered high risk. So again, very significant. And it may prevent cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease as well. There's just evidence that adhering and following a Mediterranean diet slows cognitive decline, helps with maintaining your cognition. So very important for brain health as well. We also know that the Mediterranean diet may help with weight loss and maintenance. The Mediterranean diet is not if you want fast weight loss, it's not the diet to probably go on, but it does, if you follow it, regularly, then you will get slow weight loss from following the Mediterranean diet. But there's also different ways to do the Mediterranean diet. So you can do a calorie restricted Mediterranean diet plan, and that actually is very helpful for weight loss. Very just helps you to lose the weight a lot quicker just by calorie restricting, which is not typically done in the Mediterranean diet. But the other thing I found, because I'm researching to put together a class on insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes, is that it's very effective as well to follow the Mediterranean diet with a carb restriction for those people that have or are concerned about blood sugar issues. So that's another way that the Mediterranean diet can be approached and looked at, and that's what I'm going to do in that class, is really explore a low carbohydrate Mediterranean diet. And that will probably be coming in January timeframe if you want to watch for more information on that. So again, I kind of led into this, but it may help stave off or manage type 2 diabetes, and that's following the regular Mediterranean diet. They showed 52% lower risk for developing type 2 diabetes during the 4 years that study group was followed. And it may also help with rheumatoid arthritis symptoms. So we know that that's a disease that affects a lot of people. And so that they believe that it's the healthy fats in the diet that really help with the joint pain and reducing those symptoms. It may be protective against some types of cancer, and the studies in particular showed reduction in risk of breast cancer incidence and colorectal cancer. And they showed women who ate a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil had a 62% lower risk of breast cancer than those in the control group. And again, they were studied for a number of years. So that's a very significant reduction there. And I believe, if I remember the study correctly, they were doing like 2 tablespoons of olive oil a day, 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil a day. And, that could be on a salad or on vegetables, or however you wanted to add it to your diet. But so just something to keep in mind. And also they found that the Mediterranean diet may be protective against depression, again, getting those healthy fats to the brain. There's something about that is very helpful for the brain and for the mental illness as well. So, and I've added this slide because it is Women's Health Month, and the Mediterranean diet, this is a women's health position statement. So it's hard to believe, but there's about 1 billion women over age 50 in the world today. And so with that growing age group, there's concern about, cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, dementia, and cognitive decline. And the diet recommendation is the Mediterranean diet for women over 50 that can help improve any like pain symptoms, cardiovascular risk factors such as blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood glucose levels, helping to keep those in check, as well as mood and those symptoms of depression. So even long-term adherence may improve cardiovascular risks and events and death. So just a lot of great benefits to doing the Mediterranean diet and following it as an older female. And onto the U.S. News and World Report. They actually study several diets every year, and they have a panel of experts. And I'm not talking just a few, I'm talking maybe 40 to 60, doctors, dietitians, PhDs in nutrition, just a lot of experts in the field of nutrition rank and rate these diets on certain characteristics. And so for the fourth year in a row, the Mediterranean diet has been number one. Prior to that, it was the DASH diet, but the Mediterranean diet has taken over that first place ranking. DASH diet is the second best, and then the flexitarian diet, if you've heard that, that's a lower meat diet, plant-based diet with only about 9 to 28 ounces of meat per week. So that one's become more and more popular as plant-based diets overall have become more and more popular. And just to kind of dig into those rankings a little bit, so it was voted the Mediterranean diet number one in best diets overall, number one in best plant-based diets, number one in best diabetes diets. It tied with the flexitarian diet. Number one in best diets for healthy eating. It tied with DASH. Number one in easiest diets to follow. And that, as a dietitian, speaks world to me, because if I can prescribe a diet that people can follow fairly easily, I know that they are more likely to have success. So that's why I'm big on the Mediterranean diet. It was also number one in best heart healthy diets, and that was a tie with the DASH diet, the dietary approaches to stop hypertension, and also with the Ornish diet. And the Ornish diet is a very low fat diet. It's less than 10% of your calories as fat. And I think first put out there by Dr. Ornish in the 90s, where they were trying to help reverse heart disease. And it does a very good job of that, but it's very hard to comply with, if you can imagine trying to keep your fat levels so low. Also number 15 in best weight loss diets, Weight Watchers and Flexitarian ranked number one there. And again, that's because with the Mediterranean diet, you're just going to get more of a slow weight loss, a better health improvements as well. But if you did do a calorie restricted or a carbohydrate controlled type Mediterranean diet, that would help increase the amount of weight loss that you would get. And then it was also number 24 in best fast weight loss diets. And the HMR program, which is a medical kind of meal program, was number one ranked there. So just showing that pyramid again, you can see some of those foods. Again, the activity, the family, being together, just that that way of life that kind of defines the Mediterranean diet. That's that basis. And then the plant-based foods, that's the largest part of the diet. Then moving up to the fish, trying to get fish and seafood a few times a week, and then moving on up to more of your dairy, your cheese, your eggs, your poultry, and then meats and sweets. Those would be foods that you would have less often. Again, water regularly. We want that all the time to help flush out our system. And wine would be the drink of choice in moderation. This slide just, I pulled this off of oldways.com, and I'll show you that website here when we get through the last couple slides. But I like this, this list here. You can print it off from their website, and then you could start to just maybe highlight the foods that you like in each of these different categories. And that might kind of show you, how many of the foods you're already maybe have in common with the foods that are commonly eaten on the Mediterranean diet. And I, in particular, when I first started looking into the Mediterranean diet, thought, oh, it might not ever be for me because I'm not a big fan of eggplant. But you know what? I'm still not a big fan of eggplant, but I eat most of the other foods on here. So, just like any diet, there might be some foods that you aren't such a big fan of, but you can find a lot of other foods that fit into the plan that really taste good and that you enjoy. And the other thing is just finding lots of recipes. So I'll show you a source for that as well. So transitioning to a Mediterranean diet, and this list is also out on the Old Ways site, and we'll go there after this. But first of all, it's just starting to eat more vegetables. So, I think the number one thing to do there is make sure you're bringing them home from the grocery store. And even if they're frozen vegetables, don't beat yourself up there. Those are handy if you're trying to get people out to practice and out the door or whatever. It's great to be able to use frozen vegetables, and even a couple bags, different kinds, to get those vegetables into the diet in the evening. And so just making sure that you're trying to add some recipes, maybe always having a salad on hand. I rotate several different green salads into my menu plan so that we always have something a little different going through. So just increasing those vegetables, and then changing the way you think about meat. So think of meat as more of the side dish and not the main dish on the plate. So your grain or your starchy vegetable and your other vegetables become more of the center piece of your plate, and then that meat is just the smaller portion. Enjoying some dairy products, eating plain yogurt, Greek yogurt. I like to just eat plain yogurt myself, add a few berries, maybe some sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, something a little crunchy and dry. Or, if you make granola or cereal like that or have that around, a little bit of that just to get that crunch can help you. And I think even in the Mediterranean diet, yogurt is probably more eaten than, drinking milk. And I think that's kind of how we've evolved here in the United States a lot as well. People aren't drinking as much milk as they used to, but getting some yogurt in every day can be great for the diet and giving you probiotics as well. Eating the seafood twice a week. We know those fatty fish, the tuna, the herring, the salmon, cod, sardines, those are all great fatty fish to get in. They have lots of omega-3s in them. And then if you can include some shellfish, mussels, oysters, clams, those actually have a lot of iron and a lot of zinc. So if you're not eating as much red meat, those can help mitigate those nutrients so that you're not getting deficient in those, the iron or the zinc. And, another thing to do to mitigate that would certainly be taking a supplement if you are cutting down on, in particular, red meat, and that was a big staple for you before. Also, cooking a vegetarian meal once a week. There's a great site, Monday Campaigns. So it's called Meatless Monday, and there's tons of recipes out there. And those will go into, just all the benefits, health wise, but also to our planet as well. By if everyone just could eat, cook one day a week meatless and just eat meatless all day long, cuts down a lot on the amount of water we use, the amount of land that has to be designated to feeding, growing crops to feed animals instead of growing crops to feed people, and all those things. So just something to consider. Using good fats, so healthy fats in your meals, so extra virgin olive oil. And I usually only buy a couple different types of oil, and extra virgin olive oil would be the main one. And then I also buy avocado oil, and it actually has a higher smoke point. So I might use that if I'm doing something that's going to take a little bit longer to cook. If I'm doing a stir fry, that type of thing, I would definitely just still use the extra virgin olive oil. But I also find that I'll buy the light version of olive oil and use that for baking, and any type of baking or recipe where I don't want that stronger flavor from the extra virgin olive oil. And then, incorporating some sunflower seeds, nuts, different types of nuts and seeds into your diet that are rich in omega-3s or healthy fats. And then also avocados. And generally I'll buy, a couple avocados a week. And when it's ripe, I'll go ahead and cut it up and put it in a little container in the fridge, put in a little bit of lime juice and mash it up. And then we like to put that over eggs or toast in the morning. So just a great way to get a little bit of avocado in, several days during the week. Switching to whole grain. So if you're not having, eating whole grain bread, I just recommend that you go to 100% whole wheat bread or whole grain bread. If it just says whole wheat on it, it only has by law to be 51% whole grain. The rest can be, the grain that has been stripped of its nutrients. So look for 100% whole wheat if you're buying bread, or go to the other, types of grains as well that you could use that are whole grains, brown rice, quinoa, farro, oatmeal. A lot of those grains can add a lot to your meal and your satiety in your meal. And also they won't spike your blood sugar like ground flour foods, like our breads and cakes and cookies, those types of food. So getting those extra whole grains into the diet can be a great way to mitigate also some of those sugar spikes. And then for dessert, just selecting fruit or nuts or cheese, doing that type of plate, something like that, to satisfy that sweet tooth a little bit. And I just listed here a few recipes, and these are all out on the Old Ways site. And I'll take us out there in a minute. But there's like a bakery with fig spread, and that looks just wonderful. A chocolate mousse with extra virgin olive oil, or an avocado fruit citrus salad. So different ideas. And I think that's part of what we need to do when we're trying to really change our diet and eat more healthily, is looking for recipes and looking for ideas, because that helps keep it fresh and exciting. And I know for many of us, we also have to look for those recipes and those ideas that fit into our work schedule and our time schedule. So always trying to find those things, and then making that time during the week, maybe on the weekend or one night during the week, where you spend a little bit more time food prepping or getting foods ready. And here's just a few more pictures. An avocado super summer wrap, maple candied walnuts, and a quinoa tabbouleh. Those are all recipes that are out on these sites. And that's the address there And what I can do tomorrow when I get back in the office is everyone that's registered, I believe I'll have your email with your registration. I could go ahead and send you a couple of these sites so that you don't have to, you can write them down if you have paper, but I will send them to you as well. But this is a great site here. And let me go ahead and let me get out and find some of these sites to go to. Let's go. Hang on 1 minute and I'll get back in there. Sometimes my screen covers up where I want to go. Let's try this again. Here we go. So this is actually my Pinterest site, and I will send you the link for it as well. I developed this when I was teaching a plant-based diet in October, or no, in September. What month is it? It's last September. I was teaching a plant-based diet class, and just to kind of show you here, overall, I've got about 159 recipes out here. They're all pinned from other sites, but I have, some different types of categories here. But I do have Mediterranean, I have flexitarian, I have pescatarian, which would be, a vegetarian that just eats fish. Politarian, a vegetarian that eats chicken. It includes chicken in their diet. Vegetarian recipes, and then I am working on a low carb Mediterranean diet, some recipes for that as well. So just tons of recipes out here on my site. And let me go, whoops. Hang on, I'm going to find another site I want to share. Let's see. Let's go. Let's go here. Hang on 1 second. I'm almost there, I think. There we go. For some reason, it wasn't showing up. I haven't quite figured out the art of this sometimes. Sometimes it works right away and other times it doesn't. So hopefully you can see this. This is the Old Ways. It's oldwaysspt.org. And this is a great site showing traditional type diets and lots of different recipes and information on them. So if I do click on Mediterranean diet here, it will show you a lot of the resources. So the pyramid, you can purchase a book if you want on how to get started from their website, but then you can sign up for a newsletter. They have a brochure. They have those 8 steps. Those are the ones I listed for transitioning to a Mediterranean diet. This is all stuff you can print out on your own if you're interested. And then all the studies are out here as well. So if you are wanting to look up something particular to see if the Mediterranean diet is good for it, you can certainly go out and go through their studies. And then they talk about how a healthy pasta meal is a lot of healthy ingredients and a lot less pasta. So that would be something also that you could look at if you're interested. because we tend to eat too much pasta when we're going for those pasta meals. So if you can put more other healthy vegetables and ingredients in there, that can be great. And then just going to the recipe site here. This is great because you can go, say, click on Mediterranean diet and say you just want to look for a salad. And maybe you want it to be quick and easy. Then you do a search and it will come up with all of the different salads and items that would probably be, I think they're quick and easy as 30 minutes or less to get prepared. And a lot of times salad is something you can make ahead of time, and it actually gets better as it sits and marinates for a little bit. I'll just pull this one up. For example, I just bought arugula today and some pears. So just for this recipe, it says it'll be about 15 minutes to make, and it makes 4 servings. So it's got arugula, pears, walnuts or cashews, and Parmesan cheese or other Greek cheese. And then just the dressing is olive oil, balsamic, honey, orange juice, salt and pepper, and cayenne pepper. So this might be a winner for me this week to make. And so do you guys have any questions for me? I can show a few more recipes if you are interested, but if you want to unmute and ask me questions, you're welcome to do that. Or if you don't want to ask me online, you can certainly email me and I can answer questions that way as well. And let's just go look at some desserts. And if you do come up with anything, just let me know. And we're just going to do Mediterranean diet desserts. And yeah, I'll leave quick and easy in there. We like quick and easy. So there's that baked brie and that citrus salad, both in the quick and easy. And then this chocolate mousse. I have not made this yet, but I keep telling myself I'm going to make it one of these days. Again, one of those ways you could get a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in your diet if you're trying to improve your health. So this has dark bitter chocolate in it, extra virgin olive oil, some orange liqueur, 7 eggs separated, sugar, salt, and the zest of an orange. And it looks like you can melt in the double boiler. I don't do that anymore. I melt in the microwave very slowly. I don't know if other people have what their experiences are, but I have pretty good luck with that. It looks like you separate the eggs, you use an electric mixer, mix in some sugar with the egg yolks, and then in a different bowl you make the egg whites with the rest of the sugar and allow the soft peaks to form. Then you blend it all together and put it in some little dishes. So that looks like a really yummy dish to try. Does anyone come up with any questions? Okay, well, I will go ahead tomorrow, and everyone that's registered, I will go ahead and send them the links for these sites. And please feel free to email me if you do come up with questions. Again, my office is at the rec center. It's up on the mezzanine. And for members, it's only $16 for a 45-minute visit to visit with me. And I can really do a lot more for you if I kind of know your medical history a little bit, that background. That helps me decide what type of diet maybe to approach, a diet approach for you, and that type of thing. So again, I will send that out, and I appreciate you joining me tonight. And I will go ahead and sign off. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. It was a